Reports continue to escalate for the Toronto Raptors as we have had a ton of updates drop just in the past 24 hours on guys such as Chris Boucher, Ochai Agbaji, and specifically some of the big plans Masai Ujiri has for this team with Scottie Barnes out there in the future. And some of the language in it has surprised some different people. We touched on some of this in the stream yesterday, so make sure to keep your notifications turned on so you don't miss a single stream that's happening out here on the channel. We're getting back to the streams out here rocking on Raptors Digest, but Masai Ujiri, he has been cooking up a little bit, or at least there have been rumblings. There's been a lot of reports talking about Masai Ujiri's plans and the future of this organization. So we're going to dive into it all in this video, but before we do, again, folks, if you guys are a part of the over 67% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, and you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team, make sure you guys hit that sub button so you stay up to date as we're covering every single thing that's coming out with this Toronto Raptors squad as we inch closer and closer to this year's trade deadline. Because again, moves aren't imminent. Moves are likely to come a couple of days before the trade deadline, when all the leverage, when all the negotiations, when everyone's gotten a feel for how the market's going to go, or one of these big dominoes fall in Jimmy Butler or De'Aaron Fox. But things are starting to heat up like crazy for this Raptors squad. And one of the reports that we have is regarding Chris Boucher and some of the new trade suitors for him out there on the market. Now, we knew about the Nuggets, but the Nuggets, along with the Los Angeles Clippers, the New York Knicks, as well as other teams, have also expressed a trade interest in bringing in Chris Boucher. Sources have told Hoops Hype. Now, Boucher, we know, he's had a phenomenal season. 11 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 37% from the three-point line, 39% in corner threes. He's only 32 years old. He's on an expiring contract. He is the perfect veteran to bring in if you're the Denver Nuggets, if you're the LA Clippers, if you're the New York Knicks, because he doesn't affect your long-term cap flexibility, but he can have a serious positive impact on your team right away, right from the jump. And Masai Ujiri knows this. There's going to be an actual market out there for Chris Boucher, and of course, there's a lot of Raptors fans saying, if we can't get the right value for him, if we can't get the right assets back, there's no sense in trading Chris Boucher, which of course makes sense, but the reality is the Toronto Raptors are trying to capture that flag. It's the mission, it's the direction, it's the approach, and of course we've been winning some games as of late, and this is what's going to happen, because Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, that core group with proper role players around them can win some games. We don't know their ceiling just yet, but they can beat, a lot of especially the schedule that we've had as of late. They're going to win a ton of these games. But the reality is, this team is going to go back to the Jonathan Mobos, to the Jamison Battles, to the Jacoby Walters, being mainstays in the rotation for the rest of this year, whether Boucher's on the roster or not. We want to develop these young guys because, of course, Jonathan Mobos know Chris Boucher right now at this moment. We know this. He's not as good. But 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, maybe he can develop it into something special. Jamison Battles still needs to get the ropes. Is a guy that has really developed, improved a ton as of late. It's that's just the direction the team's going to go. So having Bruce Brown, having Chris Boucher, having these guys out there on the roster is an interesting spot. Now, we've talked about potential trades for Chris Boucher, out there with these different teams. Again, I'll bring up the report once again. The Denver Nuggets are a team that have some draft picks. They have some interesting pieces. The Nuggets do. They have a couple. They have some picks and some guys that they might want to get off of salary, because Najee is a guy that they signed to a 4-year deal that has not been an effective player out there on their roster. So it's a piece that if the Nuggets are looking to get off of him, his long-term money, bring in a valuable piece for the short term for this upcoming season, and then give the Toronto Raptors some draft capital, that would be intriguing. The Clippers, they're finding talent whatever which way they can get. There's not a lot of guys in the Clippers I'm super interested in, but the New York Knicks are kind of the team that is intriguing. Now, they have some guys. They basically, Mitchell Robinson is the main piece that would be centered around one of these trades. They have some picks. They have some, not a ton after the Mikal Bridges kind of sweepstakes, the trade that went down last season, but Mitchell Robinson in like a couple seconds could be something that's a little bit intriguing for the Toronto Raptors. So not the craziest of hauls. We'll see what ends up coming out. Again, I feel like Chris Boucher is going to get traded to a random team, but we'll see how all of those things shake out. But one of the big reports that dropped yesterday was this, that was really taking Raptors land by storm. It was a report that the Raptors are looking for a significant piece around Scottie Barnes. Now, talked about this a bunch with the chat and stream yesterday. The Toronto Raptors want a significant piece. That doesn't mean a blockbuster trade is imminent. Brandon Ingram is going to be a Raptor. De'Aaron Fox is going to be a Raptor. Again, if they can get them for a steal, a bargain, a heist, sure, we might speed up this rebuild. We might move into that direction, yada, yada, yada. But there's a significant piece out there in the NBA draft right now, and he's a flag that can be captured. The offseason, you have more flexibility, you have more options to make one of these trades, to sign someone in free agency if you have extra cap space. So a significant piece can really mean a ton of things. So I don't think this means something that, hey, deal imminent, something along those lines, but it is something that's worth bringing up. But there's one report that did surprise me that dropped yesterday that came out, and it's essentially Ochai, maybe not surprised me, but Ochai Agbaji is generating trade interest from contending teams ahead of this year's trade deadline. Ochai is averaging 10.4 points per game while shooting career-high 40.3% on threes for the Toronto Raptors this season. The 24-year-old wing is under contract through 2025-2026. He's an elite on-ball defender. He's making cheap money, so a lot of contenders would be very interested in bringing him in. Now, again, his full stats are very, very good. Ochai Agbaji, his defense is great, shooting 42% on corner threes, only 24. He has had a breakout season for the Toronto Raptors. And of course, given today's NBA, where everyone's super expensive, the tax and the luxury tax, the penalties for breaking through the luxury tax are so high, it's a guy that any team would want out there on their squad, whether they're young and rebuilding like the Toronto Raptors are, or whether you're a contending team that needs flexible 3-and-D players. Ochai Agbaji is a player that you would be intrigued by. He's a player that you'd want out there on your roster. Now, the thing about it is, of course, some of these guys, you make the argument, Masai Ujiri's like, hey, they're not with the timeline for the Toronto Raptors. They're not this, they're not that. Ochai Agbaji fits the timeline for the Toronto Raptors. He fits the style of play for the Toronto Raptors, and frankly, just is kind of a perfect piece to have out there on this team. Now, if the Denver Nuggets, if the Golden State Warriors, some of these teams that are trying to win now, that are trying to compete, gives you a haul, gives you, a major sort of upgrade, or at least long-term piece upgrade for Ochai Agbaji, then you listen to those deals, you listen to those conversations, you have a chat, you have a little gander at what could be interesting there at this point. But I'm not sold. I'm not jumping at the bit to deal away Ochai Agbaji away from this Toronto Raptors team. Now, again, we're seeing all the chatter, the buzz. Things are heating up right now with the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, the Suns, the Warriors. It seems like Jimmy Butler's getting dealt. He's suspended indefinitely from the Miami Heat. They're interested in making one of these deals happen. But, so if this happens and we can get like some crazy asset back if we attach Ochai Agbaji in one of these deals, don't be surprised to see if Masai Ujiri is willing to make a trade, make a move, something out there that's a little bit surprising, a little bit crazy out there at this point. But let me know what you guys think about all these latest Toronto Raptors updates. You guys are the best flank this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.